And okay, so for everybody here, this is Mark England. Welcome, Mark, for Dharma Portal Live event.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Josh. And howdy.
Howdy
to everybody.
So a little bit about you and me. We known each other for many years. How many years?
It would be 15.
15 years.
15 years.
Okay. So we've been through quite a few experiences together, you could say. Also, we've been doing martial arts together. You're a mixed martial artist as well, and quite a good one. So we have had our fun in the gym, the dojo as well, and we've done ibogaine sessions together, etc. We've done a lot of things. You did a lot of tapping, and then you started diving into what you're going to be talking about today. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to just let the floor be yours, and I'm going to step in the background, and you're going to do a presentation for about 50 minutes, 1 hour, about?
Around that, yep.
Okay. And then after that, we're going to open up for questions. So what you guys can do is you can write the questions in the chat box as his presentation goes along. If you have questions about what he just said, then write a question that also will indicate, like in details, about that specific thing he just said. So it's not just a general questions, and we don't know really what you were talking about in that moment when you wrote the question. So make sure we understand exactly what you're talking about when you're asking this question. But so if you can make these questions go along as he's doing the presentation, and then after that we take 1 hour of complete freestyle, free flow. Okay.
Super cool.
Okay, good. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm gonna mute myself and put you in the front. So are you ready, Mark?
Born ready.
You're born ready. Okay. Okay, guys, you're in for a treat. I'm looking forward to this. Okay, you should be full screen now, and I should be gone from what I can see. Okay, and I will mute myself. Ciao.
Ciao. Everybody, you might already have them. Get a pen and some paper. This is Josh is right. This is it's a talk. It's a word. It's very interactive and very experiential. Okay, as the old saying goes, she who feels it knows it, or he who feels it knows it. So get a pen and get some paper and write down. We're going to play a couple language games to kick this thing off. Take your pen, or is it a magic wand? You know, that's up for discussion, and write down this exact sentence. How can I ever get over this? Say it 3 times. How can I ever get over this? 3rd time's a charm. How can I ever get over this? So you write it. Now say it out loud. Okay, I know you're all on mute. You write it, you say it, and then put in the chat box, folks, what kind of feeling, what kind of energy, what kind of emotion that creates in you. And that is, we got plenty of turf to cover. And that's what this workshop is about. That's what this talk is about. That's what this experience is about. How our language influences us for better and for worse. And I've been doing this one thing, as in staring at words, researching the power of our language, our stories, our identities, presenting on it, coaching on it, somewhere between full-time and overtime the whole time for the past 15 years. Okay. And you're going to learn more in this, our time together, than most people learn in their entire lives about how their language influences them for better and for worse. So let me see what we got in the chat. Write the sentence, read the sentence, and describe how it makes you feel. How can I ever get over this? Then take your magic wand and scratch out one word. We're just taking one word out of that sentence. Scratch out the word ever. And say it again. And check in with how it makes you feel. Normally, when I'm facilitating, and I'll tell you more about my professional background here in a moment. When I'm facilitating workshops like this, I will interact with some of the participants. And Josh and I talked about it, and he wanted it run this way. So fantastic. These language games, folks, write these numbers down. They're important. 30, 50, 80. We remember 30% of what we hear. We remember 50% of what we write. And we remember 80% of what we teach. So these two language games, you can quite easily turn around and share them with someone. Or share them, also known as teaching, with a group of people that shares similar interests. Okay, dare I say, and I do dare use the word metaphysics, the metaphysics of language. Okay, so what most people, and I was brought up in the public school system, and I have a master's degree in education. Okay, so I can take a shit on it. On both sides of the fence, either sides of those conversations, I didn't have one course, class, or conversation about how my language influenced me, as in the pictures and movies that I make in my imagination, the feelings and emotions that I create, that we all create, my posture, my physical posture, to keep it simple, and my breathing. Most people's language, their training in language comes down to spelling, grammar, and definitions. There's a whole magical side to our language. It's literally alive in us, and it's constant. When most people, let's see what the chat says. Let me get that thing up there, pull it over here. Most of the time, exactly, look at this. Leave out ever, and I feel it is doable. Ever is despondent. What am I trying to get over? Don't really have anything at the moment. Fair enough. For most people, when they put the word ever in there, ever is known as drama language. Okay. It falls under the category of drama language. And fine, yeah, syntactically speaking, syntax, there's a 25-cent word. Syntax, the syntax is simply how the words are put together. That's it. And yeah, fine, there's a question mark at the end. How can I ever get over this? But when someone says it with that, especially with that word ever in there, and they emotionalize it, they take a question and turn it into a statement of I'm screwed. And when that happens, the reticular activating system, which we're going to go over in about 10 minutes, very important for people to know about that are interested in personal development or want to know why they see what they see internally and externally, and why they aren't seeing what they want to see more of. RAS, reticular activating system. The RAS goes, okay, well, if it's a problem and you presuppose that there's nothing you can do about it, how can I ever get over this? We make a picture of it being huge. Okay, send ourselves into overwhelm, stress response, and then we just resign to, nothing I can do about this. We take out one single word, ever, scratch it out. Now we turn it into a real question, very reliably. It goes from a statement of I'm screwed to, well, how can I get over this? And it's called, technically, those are both called presuppositions. They presuppose something. So the second sentence presupposes there are answers to this question. There are ways to solve this problem. And then the reticular activating system goes on a search mission to find more and more of those, to go and get some answers. And it gets us out of overwhelm and puts us in an action state. Overwhelm and nothing I can do about this is a very stressful state. Okay. So right around the corner is resignation, and that's a very dense energy, everybody. That's very dense, okay? And it keeps our breath. We're going to talk about language a ton today. We're also going to talk about breathing a ton because they're inextricably linked. Our language influences our breathing, for better and for worse. And most people, ask any yoga teacher, most people are walking around with their breath trapped in their chest, because the story that they're telling themselves about themselves in the world is constructed in such a nature that it creates and maintains a victim mentality. Not fun. And then breath trapped in the chest, we go into these, it's called amygdala hijack technically. And when someone goes into a stress response, they get focused, hyper-focused on a thing. Okay, breath in the chest, hyper-focused on a thing. We lose access to our literal peripheral vision and our creative faculties. Our listening abilities go way down. I've been coaching for 15 years on this stuff. All y'all coaches out there, good luck changing your client's mind while their breath is trapped in their chest. Okay, you got to address the breathing, get it down in their abdomen, low and slow, parasympathetic nervous system response. And they also, me, you, we're all way more psychologically and emotionally flexible, malleable when we're in rest and digest, parasympathetic nervous system response, also known as breath low and slow. Okay. Second language game. So that language game right there is called How Can I Ever Get Over This? And that's exactly how you run it. It's 2 parts. I'm a teacher to the core. I want you all to have something to turn around and share with people after our time together, on top of some valuable information about what you can do with your stories that have haunted you for God knows how long. This is not a pen. This is a magic wand. The definition of magic, everybody, is the ability to apparently alter the course of events using supernatural forces. It's not the ability to do it. It's the apparent ability to do it. And when someone knows how to use this thing and go into their stories and break spells by definition, and cast spells by definition, you're turning yourself into a potent individual. The definition of a spell, Webster's, not mine, is a word or a combination of words of great influence. That's it. That's it. And it goes for better and it goes for worse. There are expansive spells, combinations of words that will open up and brighten your imagination, expand and lighten your emotions and feelings, give you greater access to your breathing, your lung capacity, and over time improve your posture. You ever talked yourself into a bad mood? Yeah, we all have. You ever talked yourself into a good mood? Yeah, we all have. Did you use the same words? No, you didn't. Different sets of words take us in different directions. And so, a combination of words, I'm not good enough for, I'm not good enough. That's a combination of words of great influence. The other side of the coin, things work out for me when I show up. That's a combination of words. One's constrictive, one's expansive. If we want to get all Rudolf Steiner about it, he said, any force that seeks to constrict or control is by definition Luciferian. So I'm going to teach you all how to write things down in a certain way and break constrictive spells and cast expansive spells. Sound fun? So we got one language game in, second language game. This is called a should detox. Sounds fun. Everybody write that down. Should detox. And I want you to pick something. It could be anything. Most people have something that they should on themselves about. I should walk more, or I should meditate more consistently, or I should drink more water, or I should call my grandma. Whatever it is, write it down. Okay, it starts with a should statement in complete sentence with a period. Okay, and please put it in the chat box. Exactly. Please put it in, Josh. Please put it in the chat box. I want to see what we're working with. I should stretch more often. So I should speak to myself. I should lose weight. Cool. I should speak to myself in a more kind manner. I should sleep more. I should go to bed earlier. I should take my supplements. I should fill it in, and look at the words and pay attention to how they feel how they make you feel. See, very rarely folks do, and we're not taking and we're not spending, we're investing. Very rarely do people slow down. This whole thing is storytelling, by the way. Very rarely do people slow down the storytelling mechanism, the process, so they can pay attention, closer attention, scrutinize how their language is influencing themselves and influencing them for better and for worse. That's totally what we're doing. Okay, great. So should statement, cross out should and put in could. Rocket science. All this shit is rocket science. I'm lying. None of it's rocket science. Okay, so take your could statement, write it underneath, and write in or your should statement and write in the word could. I should not doubt myself. So Tanya, you could say I should trust myself. We'll flip that. So should to could. I could trust myself. I could lose weight. There's an art and science to talking yourself into shit, people. I could sleep more. I could go to bed earlier, whatever it is. Okay. Look at it, read it, say it out loud if you want, and observe how it influences you. Language is powerful, folks. All right. Should to could to can. Write it underneath again and write in can. I can lose weight. I can sleep more. I can trust myself. I can meditate more frequently. I can drink more water. I can save money. I can clip up that credit card. I can fill it in. Joshua, exactly. Could is a very powerful word when used consciously. We're going to talk about that in affirmation setting or socializing an idea. Okay, like I said, I've been in this game for a while, and I've inserted myself into a number of different language-centered training. Well, we call them companies or businesses, communities, and paid very close attention. Dan, exactly. Well, okay, you can go there. So should to could to can. There's one before it, Dan. Can plus because. So in Dr. Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, The Power of Persuasion, he's one of the most sought after social psychologists on the planet. He gets hired for all the presidential elections in the United States. They did a very interesting study where they went into offices, okay, during peak copy machine hours, and they'd go into the copy machine room and they'd go from the back of the line to the front of the line and they'd say, excuse me, can I get in front of you to make some copies? And they got a yes 66% of the time. Cool. Then they added a because, also known as a why. Back of the line, front of the line, excuse me, can I get in front of you to make some copies? Because if I do, I can get these to my partner in time for the presentation that starts at 4. Or, excuse me, can I get in front of you to make some copies? Because if I do, if I get these done now, I can get out of here and get to my daughter's rehearsal. It went from 66% yes rate to 94% yes rate. That's interesting in and of itself. Here's where it gets funny and a little spooky. Then they go from the back of the line to the front of the line and they say, excuse me, can I get in front of you to make some copies? Because I need to make some copies. Well, no shit you do. You're in the copy room machine. And they got a yes 93% of the time. What does that tell you? That the why is essentially irrelevant. And when you add on a because or give yourself a why for any action, you're getting roughly 33% more buy-in. So should to could to can to can plus because, and fill it in. Everybody, we love participation here. Everybody put your can plus because statement in there. So I can create my life because, or I can be empowered because, or I can trust myself because. 33%. It could be a bad because. It could be a bad why. I can lose weight because it's good. Exactly. So there, like I said, folks, there's an art and science to talking yourself into stuff. There's also an art and science of I can do my breath work and meditation every morning because it improves my daily life. I can recreate my life because there's so many possibilities. Correct. See, most people's language, folks, it works against them and they never even know it. I can do it because I can do it. Exactly. That is factual. That is factual as far as what that because will do for you. It'll give you roughly a 33% more boost. And when I talk about language, everybody, I can go to bed earlier because I care. Exactly. When I talk about language, everybody, I'm talking about internal dialogue and external dialogue. What we think, what we say, and what we write. And very frequently, it's so easy to do for a variety of reasons. It's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking that the solution to my problem is as equal to the size of the problem. I can get rid of stuff because I acquired it. Yeah, correct. I can trust myself because I'll feel better about myself. Correct. Very frequently, folks, the answer to someone's big picture problem is getting into smaller stories and changing some everyday ordinary language. Here's one of my promises to you. If you change, and it doesn't take much, some seemingly everyday ordinary language, you're going to get an immediate return on your investment. And then there's downstream benefits as well. And I've already mentioned this. Now I'm going to say it specifically. So when I talk about language, which is internal dialogue and external dialogue, thoughts, speech, writing, our language, it influences four main aspects of our experience of ourselves. I've got a black belt in simplicity, just so you know. Okay. A lot of this big metaphysical stuff that Josh, I know he talks to you all about, is way the fuck over my head and has been the whole time. So I am good at making things super simple and getting it down into hillbilly wisdom. It's where I'm from. I'm a country guy from Virginia. Our language influences four main aspects of us, and it does it simultaneously. Our imagination, our feelings and emotions, our posture. It could sound smart and say physiology, whatever. Our posture and our breath. Did I mention it does it simultaneously? Here's a story. So I get hired to do a training for a sales team in Calgary. That's how they say it. I got corrected. I used to say Calgary. It's Calgary, up in Canada. And I did a training for the team, for the group, and then stayed after. What's the question? What if the do not believe in what we tell ourselves of positive words? We'll get there. We'll get to that. Good question. Very good question. Josh, rack up all the questions for the Q&A part. Okay. Because I'll present, facilitate, and then we'll go Q&A and feedback. So I get hired to do this training, and I stay after and do one-on-one sessions with everybody. And I'm sitting in a room with a young man who's 23, 24, struggling at work, not happy about it. And this is what he says, and this is what he does. He goes, Mark, I can't keep focusing on my past. Except faster and even bigger. I didn't want my headset to go flying off. Look at the words. I can't keep focusing on my past. I can't keep focusing on my past. And I'm looking right at him. Where it's just us in the room. We're sitting in two chairs. I go, dude, you turn around and look behind you just like that. He goes, what, really? And I said, yeah, what did you see? And he had to stop and think about it. And that brings up another point that I touched on earlier in a different way. We use our language so fast. It's hard, generally speaking, the general we use our language so fast in such a rapid fire. It's hard to tell what is doing what and where the linchpin spells are and stories are located. So we stopped that dude on one sentence. I can't keep focusing on my past. And it nailed all four of them right at the same time. His posture, His imagination, what did you see? He goes, I saw myself all on the couch and all alone. What was he feeling? Guess what I asked? He was feeling scared, and underneath that was sadness. And then I asked him where he was breathing. He's like, oh, I'm just all tight, which means his breath is trapped in his chest. So here's this again. I said, write that sentence down. And he goes, which one? And I said, the one you just said, I can't keep focusing on my past. And he did. And then I said, if that's what you can't keep doing, what can you start doing? And he said it half question or half sentence as a question. Up talk. Everybody write down up talk. You want to turn yourself into a 14-year-old valley girl like that and make everybody like go first and foremost, make yourself doubt yourself. Get your statements to go up in the end. I'm going to start my business in 2022. I'm going to trust myself more. I can go to bed earlier. If it goes up at the end, it's a question, regardless of the punctuation at the end. What you want to do is to practice your speech so you're either flat or flat and descending at the end. If you get to a point where you're flat and descending at the end, this is matter of fact speech. And I triple dog dare you, if you all learn to become definitive in your speech, watch out. You're going to turn yourself into a potent individual. And like I said earlier, a lot of this stuff is so easy to dismiss because it's so close to home. It's right between our ears, right under our nose, and right at our fingertips. I mean, really, folks, what's more seductive than our own voice in our own head? And the guy said, I said, what if that's what you can't keep doing? What can you start doing? And he goes, focus on my future more. And I said, yeah, now write it down. And it took him a second because he was so caught up in the, I can't keep focusing on my past. And it's just because of my dad over here. And then all these other people are better than me and nothing ever works out for me. And I'm not good enough, because it's not just one sentence, folks. It's this whole thought train with the peripheral stories and the background stories pushing this thing along. And he goes, and it took him a while. He goes, it was clunky. I can, and you see him talking himself into it. He takes the breath, sigh of relief, of pressure. I can focus on my future more. I can't. And now that we've got him pointed in a better direction, first, I'm 45 years old. I'm still talking about this shit. The first thing my driving teacher said when I got in the car when I was 15 and a half, he said, look where you want to go, because you're probably going to go there. Now that we got him pointed in a better direction, I said, well, what do you need to do, buddy? And he's just 3 simple things that he couldn't see because he was staring into the rear view mirror. Because there's a reason that the rear view mirror is this big and the windshield's this big. But if someone's canting and don'ting and negating and talking about all the things that never work out for them, they're going to be summoning the demons from the past and making themselves stare at it in their imagination. Hello, stress response. Hello, impending victim mentality. I'm going to recite the definition of the victim mentality for you all here in a moment. He needed to do 3 things. And guess what? He did them, because he sent me a message 6 months later. He said, I turned my job around and I like myself more. I mean, news flash, he needed to get a couple of books and read them. Okay. There was a mentoring program at work. He needed to enroll it. And then there was a once a month go out drinking with everybody and social function. And he did those 3 things, which was easy for him to identify when he was pointed in the right direction. So walking out my front door. Josh, I don't know if you've heard the story. I'm walking out my front door in 2017, minding my own business, getting ready for a presentation. And I'm one of those guys that's early. So I get out the door early. I'm rehearsing in my head, and I walk over to where I had parked my car the night before. And now there's nothing but glorious empty space. And I stare at this glorious empty space that was my BMW SUV the night before. And it took me a hot, awkward second to connect the dots that somebody jacked my ride. So I called the police. I said, help! I said, hold on, buddy, we're coming. And then I called my dad. And then I said, Dad, somebody stole my car. I've got shit to do. I need the farm truck. This is in Richmond, Virginia. So I drive out to the country, middle of the state of Richmond, Virginia, out in the rural countryside. And I go get one of my dad's prized possessions, a 1985 Ford F-150. Bought it off the showroom floor, 2 tones of brown. We call it Brown and Browner. And I drove Brown and Browner into Richmond. And within 24 hours, most people have had this experience, I started seeing 1985-ish Ford F-150s all over the place. I saw 3 in 2 city blocks. If you don't worry about raising your hand. If you've ever had that experience, you purchase a car and you start driving that car, or even you're thinking about purchasing the car, and you start seeing that same car out and about all over the place. If you've had that experience, again, most people have, type the model of the car into the chat room. I love this part. It's fun. So I start seeing 1985-ish Ford F-150s all over the place. I'm like, where the hell are these things coming from? And guess what? That's the reticular activating system. The RAS, amongst other things, it's got 2 important functions. Yeah, Volvos everywhere, Mustangs. It's got amongst others 2 very important functions: a search function and an edit function. On a side note, you all go to YouTube and type in reticular activating system, and you'll get, there's 4 or 5 under 10-minute videos. Great, a couple of videos, and it'll click. It will click. Once it gets programmed that something is important, and it is impartial. Okay, it has no skin in the game as far as what's good or bad for you, quote unquote, good and bad. It's just whatever you put your attention on, you're going to catch that shit out of the corner of your eye. Okay, and then pull it into your awareness. So it's got the search function, and then it's got the edit function. So while I was finding more and more 1985-ish Ford F-150s, it's editing out all the things that are not that. So I didn't see any Beetles, okay, Volkswagen Beetles. I didn't see any white vans, no Corvettes, nothing, because it wasn't that. And this has been studied in depth. You can still see the original video on YouTube. It's called the Invisible Gorilla Study. Some of you might be familiar with it. So in the late 90s, 2 social psychologists took 7 college students, dressed 3 of them up in white and 3 of them up in black, gave the white team 2 basketballs, the black team 2 basketballs, and they took that 7th student and dressed him up in a gorilla costume. True story. And then for 1 minute, they filmed the white team passing the basketballs back and forth. Mercedes, Sprinter vans are everywhere, turns out, and the black team passing the basketballs back and forth to each other. And then 30 seconds in, the student in the gorilla costume walks right into the middle of it, right in the middle of the frame, looks at the camera, beats his chest, and walks out. That was the 1 minute video. And then they showed this 1 minute video to tens of thousands of students. Okay. And they directed their attention. They activated their reticular activating system. Magicians know this. So do people that script the news. They got them to focus on something. Count how many times the white team passed the basketballs back and forth. That was it. And they did. And then at the end, they asked them how many times. The correct answer is 15. And then they asked them, hey, by the way, did you happen to see the gorilla? 50%, 50% of people failed to see something so seemingly obvious as and when you go back and look at it, it's fucking obvious. They edit it out because they're not looking for it. Now, the question is, does the reticular activating system only work for 1985-ish Ford F-150s and Sprinter vans and Volvos and Mustangs and kids in gorilla costumes? Or does our language and our stories, do our stories influence the reticular activating system? a tale of two stories, one of constriction and darkness, and one of expansion and adventure. This is like year 3. Woman walks in. This is when Josh and I were living on Koh Samui. Josh and I were best friends in this spiritual community on an island in the Gulf of Thailand called Koh Samui for 5 years. Adventures abound. Anyway, this woman walks in, sits down, and she was very forthcoming. I mean, like, here it is. She said, my husband thinks I'm attractive and I refuse to believe him, and I know where it's coming from. I just don't know what to do about it. Tell me more. She's 10 years old. She goes to her grandparents' house for Christmas and walks in the kitchen. And right as soon as she walks in the kitchen, there's her great aunt, older than dirt, leans down and goes, Ma, you have a big nose, just like me. Thanks. Little girl locks up, runs into the bathroom. What do you think the first thing she looked at when she got in there was? Her nose, which was no bigger physically now than it was 5 seconds ago, but in her imagination, she's got a honker, which means she's ugly. Very strong emotional reaction. Reticular activating system goes, oh, okay, you're ugly. Well, I'm going to go find all the other faults and edit out anything that's not that. Hello, complex central. Hello, eating disorder central. And so she grows up. She gets married. I mean, you can see it. You can, like, it's like, damn, baby, you look good. You don't really mean that. You think that's going to cause some problems? You're fucking right, it will. And it goes both ways because, like I said, there are constrictive spells and there are expansive spells. And they both follow the same definition of a spell, a word or a combination of words of great influence. And guess what, folks? Most people's spells, also known as belief systems, which is a clunky name, it gives it too much weight and authority, in my opinion, for opinions. I mean, look, I've got limiting belief systems. They're opinions. They're fucking opinions. And you're not going to find I'm not good enough on the periodic table of elements. Okay. You're not going to find nothing ever works out for me is not a unit of measurement. Right. They run a lot. It runs the shit out of our shows. Okay. Our opinions. And when you frame them as opinions, it makes it easier to get into the mindset of, oh, I'm going to change my mind. Okay. So I'm giving a presentation also in 2014 at a hippie festival called Gratifly in South Carolina. And I give a presentation. There's this dude setting up a booth next to me. He hears the whole thing. He comes up afterwards. He says, man, that was awesome. You want to hear a great story about all that? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I was 12 or 13. And I forget the guy's name. We'll just call him Dave. And he said, my grandfather took me out in the backyard, just us. And he said, little Davey, life's wild. There's going to be some zigs. There's going to be some zags. There's going to be some ups and downs and twists and turns. And you're going to get some things right and you're going to get some things wrong. Just always remember to err on the side of being a badass motherfucker. And he said, it was like lightning hit him. He said, my whole worldview of my view of myself and it changed in an instant. He said he looked up, things are looking up. And he goes, I saw myself as capable. I was only 13, remember? Saw myself as capable and confident. And I took this big breath in and I felt like I grew. And you know what? I've made so many mistakes, but you know what? I learn as I go and I go after what I want and I like being me. That's a drum roll, folks. My business partner, Adam, God bless that dude. He says, if you enjoy being you, then you're winning. And so, when we get into the conversation about language, especially talking to Josh's audience, it's very easy to talk about the metaphysics of it and the magic of it, the power of it. Abracadabra. Abracadabra. Y'all know what that means? Y'all know what abracadabra means? Most people think magic. Exactly, Dan. So Josh, down in Vilcabamba, minding my own business, out to eat with Pete Wishmore and Akaya and some other people. And this guy, I forget his name. He changed my life. I should totally remember him. And he's at they know what I'm doing. They know what I'm doing. The guy knows I'm in the language game. And he goes, "Hey, Mark, do you know what abracadabra means?" And I go, yeah, magic. Continue to eat. And he goes, "No." He goes, "Abracadabra is actually Aramaic." That, ladies and gentlemen, was one of the two languages that Jesus spoke, and it's the language the original Old Testament was written in. Side note. And he said it's Aramaic for "with my word I create," or "with my words I influence." The hair stood up on my arms, back of the head, I put my fork down. He was at the other end of the table. I go over there and I said, "Tell me everything you know." The metaphysicians, the teachers of the day, would triangulate it and wear it around their neck. You can look this up, to remind them of the power and the mechanism of the spoken word, because they knew if they got that part of the formula wrong, as in they're shit talking themselves, thinking that's going to help, their language is working against them. Whatever they want to do in their life is going to be way harder than it needs to be. And they would also triangulate it down. So it'd be abracadabra, and they'd take one letter off until they got down to the A. So it's a point. And they believed that that siphoned negative energy out of people's systems. They would actually write that on sick people's bodies, or write it on a piece of paper and have them hold it close to them. And you know what? There's still something to it. We all know people that struggle, like really struggle, with the story that they tell themselves about themselves. Now, we can talk about this workshop in a variety of different ways. This is also a introductory conversation on how to dismantle the victim mentality. I'm going to repeat this twice. Okay. The first time slow, the second time a little bit faster. I'm taking a little bit out of the middle, everybody. This is the verbatim definition of the victim mentality. And it reinforces the potency of this conversation. The victim mentality is an acquired personality trait where a person tends to regard himself or herself as the victim of the negative actions of others, even in the absence of clear evidence. The victim mentality depends on a habitual thought process and attributions. Second time a little faster, and I'll unpack that second sentence. The victim mentality is an acquired personality trait where a person tends to regard himself or herself as the victim of the negative actions of others, even in the absence of clear evidence. The victim mentality depends, as in it has to have a habitual thought process. Habitual accurately implies duration and addiction. So if there's habitual thinking that the victim mentality depends on, has to have, what are the thoughts? So and Josh knows Adam Chin very well, because he was on that island with us as well. In 2014, Adam Chin and I shot an online training course called Core Language Upgrade. And we got it done, got it in the can, looked at each other, and decided we had to reshoot it, which is a big deal for two dudes that are bootstrapping a business to do. We decided to reshoot it because we mapped out, and this is roughly, these three language pillars are responsible for roughly 85% of the structure of the language that people use to create and maintain their victim mentality. We called it victim mentality language. It was too strong of a place to start the conversation. So accurate by the definition of the victim mentality, even though it was too strong of a place to start, because people are like, "Oh, no, I'm not a victim." But you talk about conflict, it's conflict language. They're like, it's easier for them to get on board. Yeah, conflict. I do have a little bit of conflict in work. Shit, you should see my marriage. These are the 3 pillars, folks. Right, conflict language. First one, we've already talked about it, negations. This is where the worry comes from. This is where a certain flavor of anxiety comes from. These are the words that force you to stare at the worst case scenario. My grandmother was an Olympic medalist, triple black belt, 9th degree black belt in worrying. Okay. And this is all she did. She talked about, here are the keywords. Josh, will you write these in the chat? Won't. Can't. Isn't. Hasn't. Haven't. Not. Shouldn't. Hasn't. I can't keep focusing on my past. There's my past and all the shitty parts of it. Okay. I haven't had a date in years. There's me all alone, fucking loser. I won't spend all my money this month. There's a picture of me with a credit card declined. And that stuff adds up, folks. Okay. And you know what else it does is it trains us, give somebody a couple of decades, accidentally forcing themselves to stare at the worst case scenario and create the victim villain mental imagery projections. We're going to get to that, and create a metric shitload of indecision, soft talk. We're going to get to that, and all these little micro stresses add up, and the body, this becomes homeostasis. It becomes home for people. They train in trainment. They train themselves, and eventually it sticks to just walk around, just sucking air. Okay. Did you know that the average person sighs 200 times a day? You know why? It's because they're shitty breathers. I know Josh talks to you about your breath, and I hear this a lot. We have in Lifted, we have 2 brands, one for the general audience, one for the fitness industry. This is the fitness industry, for the fitness industry. And we went on in 2017, the most popular podcast in CrossFit, because we had been demonstrating for 10 years solid in and out of certain yoga circles, the relationship between our language and our breathing. And if you change some language, you unlock the breathing. Breathing is kind of important when you're working out, kind of. And most people's breathing, like I said, is trapped in their chest. And a large reason why that's the case is the stories that we tell ourselves and the unchecked words. And I hear this all the time. I've got tight shoulders. You mean you're holding your breath? I got a tight jaw. You mean you're holding your breath? I suffer from premature ejaculation. You mean you're holding your breath while you're fucking? It's like, if you want to improve any aspect, I told you I'm a redneck. If you want to improve any aspect of your life, improve your breathing mechanics. I'm also a professional speaker and professional speaking coach. And within the first 10 minutes of any conversation with any prospective client, we talk about breathing. If you are involved in sales, if you ever give presentations, if you want to cock up a presentation, give a presentation breathing in your chest. You're going to sound like an amateur, and people are going to pick up on it, and you're not going to enjoy yourself. If you have a sales pitch to make, let's say you're a coach, and you get on and you deliver your pitch, okay, and your breath is trapped in your chest, you're going to sound like an amateur. Okay. Breath down low and slow while you're presenting and you're speaking. You're going to be very solid. You're going to sound secure, because you're going to be way more secure than someone who's, chest breathing because of all the unchecked stories that they got and lack of command of their speech. Okay. This is amateur hour, folks. Okay. And it is absolutely part and parcel of the victim mentality. And here's one of my promises to you. And then we'll get back onto the conflict language. If you make some seemingly minor adjustments in your everyday, ordinary language, you will unlock your breath. And you unlock your breath and you're going to see things differently, okay? And you're also going to be way harder to scare, way harder to fuck with, okay? The term mass formation psychosis is now out. Watch the 2 Joe Rogan podcasts with Dr. Peter McCullough. They're a month old at the most. Peter McCullough is a month old, and Dr. Robert Malone is about 2.5 weeks old, 3 weeks old. Dr. Robert Malone, Peter McCullough is the most published immunologist, peer-reviewed, published immunologist in history, okay? And then Dr. Peter McCullough, he was one of the people that invented the mRNA vaccines, okay? These guys have something to say. And Dr. Peter McCullough dropped the term mass formation psychosis. And when you unlock your breathing and take care of some of your unresolved stories, then you make yourself a lot less easy for these big picture black magic fear tactic spells to sink into. Okay, it's a lot of fun. And I'm going to give you one thing to do today with your words. It's called a soft talk challenge because it's the easiest place to start. So we got negations. Those are the key words. That's where the worry comes from. Then there's projections. If anybody familiar with Byron Katie, she's the fairy great grandmother of this stuff. I haven't thought about this in a while. 1,000 Names for Joy is her, Byron Katie, it's her unpacking the Tao Te Ching. And in my opinion, it's more high level than the Tao Te Ching. Okay, super cool. She's been pimp handing people about their projections for God knows how long. A projection keywords: he, she, they, people's first names, mom, dad, the government. I got into this work because I moved over to Thailand because I thought I was a tough guy. I wrestled in high school, got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in college, and started fighting in MMA fights and also Thai boxing. I was a 2-time Virginia State kickboxing champ. So the plan was go over to Thailand for a year. This is in 2002, and come back and go pro. It's not what happened. I moved over there, and 6 months in, I was on the operating table getting my second knee surgery. And the doctor said, your career as a fighter is over. You could become a very good swimmer, which sounded fantastic to me. I mean, picturing me doing laps next to grandma in some chlorine pool. I'm lying. Darkness descended and absolutely inflamed my victim mentality. I used that at the time, what I thought was the biggest fail of my life, as the final evidence. I was compiling a case against myself. Final proof that there was something wrong with me, that I was somehow doomed to fail, and I should just give up. I didn't laugh for an entire year. It's really hard to laugh when your breath is trapped in your chest, because I was so stressed out about me thinking I'd completely torched my life and my golden opportunity, which was a big deal. I mean, nobody moved over to Thailand then from where I was from. Everybody was talking about it. Well, I fucked it up because I'm a loser. And after a year of me doing that story, thank God I had, for a simple person like me to have the insight of looking down that path, that story, and seeing the outcome. I'm like, dude, are you going to be 60 years old crying about this shit? And I saw that and I said, if you do that, then you really are a loser. And I said, fine, anything but that. I'll take anything but that. So, and I lived in Thailand for a decade. That still sounds wild to say. 5 years in Bangkok as an elementary school sports teacher, and then the next 5 down on that island with Josh. And so I was elementary school sports teacher, and we're still on the conversation about projections, which is where I fell in love on sight for only 2 times in my life. First time I got choked in jujitsu practice. Sounds weird, whatever, I am weird. And then when I saw the language game for the first time in 2003. So anyway, I heard about this spa down on an island. People go and change their lives and clean up your blah, blah. And I'm like, I'll take anything. Like I need to participate differently. So I go down there and I kept going. My third time down, there was a guy, this was in 2003, like I said, a guy by the name of Barry Musgrave, who was I didn't know him at the time. He's my first mentor in this work. He was doing a presentation on emotional detoxification. And me and all my wisdom, I snickered at it. Emotional detoxification. I went though, thank God. And you know what I saw? I saw real magic. He was talking about words and stories and identities. And then he asked, is there anybody suffering, stuck on a story? And this woman shot her hand up. And it was a stinger of a breakup. This would be an ouchie for anybody, except for Byron Katie. Her and her friends get a house down at the beach for beach week. Her and her boyfriend get the house right next to it. Okay, they're in high school. Add alcohol, press play. Her boyfriend hooks up with one of her best friends in front of everybody the night before, and then dumps her in front of everybody the next night after. Okay, can we say ugh on 3? Yeah, we probably could. Take out the probably. And so she's still hung up on the story after 4 years, so much so she's not allowing herself to get into another relationship because she's hurt, and underneath that she's scared that it means something about her. She's taking it personal. He had her tell the story 3 times. First time through, angry and tears. Second time through, he started changing some of the language in the middle. You see things starting to change, and now she's sad, no tears. And the third time through, he stopped her at the Lord of the Rings of the sentences, the one that bound them all. It was, he did that to me. Everybody write that down for shits and giggles. He did that to me. One more time. He did that to me. This is exactly what he did. So everybody is now staring at that one sentence. Remember, slowing the whole thing down. And he said at the end, take out the me and put in himself. And that little girl's world went from flat to round. She goes, because again, just like the guy with I can't keep focusing on my past, she was so caught up in her story that and changing that one word, because guess what? He did that to me. He's in the picture, she's in the picture. He's given it, she's taken it. He's doing something to her. She's got to wait for him to change his behavior so she can feel better about her life. Hurry up. Don't hold your breath. He did that to himself. She's looking around. Holy shit. He did. He did do that. And you see her walk herself into a completely different story with a completely different meaning, because it's not the story that gets us, folks. It's the meaning that we assign to the story that gets us. And the meaning that we assign to the story that gets us is directly related to the language that we use to script the story. Didn't learn this in the 11th grade English class, did you? If you did, you're lucky. And he did do that to himself. And then she goes into the part of the story which she didn't have much access to about what happened to him. That dude, his social credit score took a digger. He lost friends. And then she got to the place, she goes, well, that wasn't going to work, actually, because he was pretty weird, truth be told. And I'm looking at that and I go, that's not my story, but that's my story. And I've been hooked since. I was a horrible student in school because I was bored out of my mind. This work, this language work, this story game has kept my attention the whole time for the past. I turned 15 years old as a coach tomorrow. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I find it's fascinating. It's fascinating. Change some words and watch this whole thing change. Okay, sign me up. So the key words. Well, let me give you some more sentences. He never lets me think for myself. she's controlling my life. Just look at the pictures, folks. This is where the blame and eventually the venom comes from. And these are the ones that they have the hardest time traditionally dealing with and changing because of the level of emotional charge that they create. And if the story is maintained addiction, absolutely, you can become addicted to your victim mentality. I know this. Okay. My mother talks to me like a child. Take out your mother and put in I talk to me like a child. Holy shit. I mean, really, folks, who talks more shit to you about you than you? There's not even a close comparison. All right. And there's language patterns involved in it. And when you know what to do with this thing, you can break spells. The fastest way to break a spell is to write the damn thing down. We talk a lot about imposter syndrome in our coaching certification. And very, very rarely, does anyone pick up the 500-pound pen, and that's what it can feel like when you're doing this stuff, and write out the sentences that haunt coaches. Who am I to do this work? There's so many better coaches out there than me. What will people think? How can you coach anyone when you're so fucked up? And there's the stuff that we say to us, and then there's the stuff we fantasize about other people, not like good fantasies, fantasize about other people saying to us, he's a coach, she's not qualified. I mean, I've had PhDs tell me these exact same sentences, and it's not like there's 500 sentences, Boogie Monster, Freddy Krueger's sentences that haunt people. No, it's really about 15 on repeat. And you want to slow that process down, write down the sentences. Yeah, fine, there might be a little bit of sting in the moment. It's nothing compared to 20, 30 years of dealing with those things. I go on rants and tangents. So the key words: he, she, they, mom, dad, government, people's first names. You want to take those first, write them down. Make it a lot easier on yourself. Take them out, put in I or myself, whatever. Take your words and turn your attention back in on you. Watch what happens. And we're geared for this stuff, folks. We're absolutely geared for this stuff on some deep existential level, because when we do this, lockdown, pain, chaos in our life, breath trapped in the chest, puckered butthole. Yeah, I just said that. Puckered butthole. I own unpuckered.com. I've owned it for 4 years. Still not sure what I'm going to do with it. Couldn't believe no one had bought that. Because guess that's another thing that happens when people go into a stress response. When people's breath is trapped in the chest, yeah, fine. They can't see shit. They can't hear shit. And their butthole's all puckered up. Okay. The second most common over-the-counter medicine in the United States is medicine for indigestion, and the third most is for constipation. Okay, and a lot of that is coming from our undigested stories. People have emotional indigestion. These are spells, folks. Projections are very, very nasty spells. So we get all of this when we go. And it really can be like stopping a train. Yes, there's some friction, reaction, and there's a liberating process happening. Eventually, our energy, and it can happen quite quick, our energy changes, our breath releases. Okay, we become much easier to be around in our personal and professional lives. Hey, fellas, you want to fuck up a date? Go out and go on a date and hold your breath. Okay, hold your breath and just be real tight and self-conscious and talk too much. Okay, because you don't know what else to do and you talk too much about yourself. Women are kind of sensitive to energy. Okay, or go out on a date and practice breathing well. Take 5% of your mental real estate and just remember to breathe a little bit, get it low and slow, and watch what happens. You'll be a way better conversationalist. Breath trapped in the chest, you monologue. Breath low and slow, you'll have dialogues. And you'll be a better listener. your timing will be big time improved. Okay, so you'll know when to crack jokes, make her laugh, like all the things you want to do. And when you're in a parasympathetic nervous system, I mean, look at the words: parasympathetic nervous system response, rest and digest, or feed and breed. Okay, you want to tank your sex life, walk around all stressed and tight, like nothing works well, and you're no fun. Okay, there's a lot of reasons to check your language, folks. So that's projections, and then here's the last part of our conversation, or this part of the workshop, and then Josh and I are going to tell stories and have fun and answer your questions to the best of our ability. Soft talk. So conflict language, which was formerly known as victim mentality language. Remember the definition of the victim mentality? It's got 3 pillars: negations, projections, and soft talk. And put these 3 together, and that's 85% of how people create problem stories for themselves. Okay, so soft talk. The hell is that? Everybody write that. We're gonna create an experience, and then we're gonna do the soft talk challenge, and you're gonna get a lot out of this, especially over the next 7 days. Everybody write down a goal for 2022. Only one. Pick one thing, write it out in like a full sentence. I want to, and construct it any way you want. I will, I can, I am, I want to, doesn't matter for this. I want to travel to Madagascar, or I will start my business, or I could lose 20 pounds. Whatever it is, write it down. And then you pick one of these 3 words and stick it in there and tell me what happens to the energy. Either a maybe, or a guess, or a kind of. Pick one of those 3 words, guess, maybe, kind of, and stick it somewhere in the sentence, and now say it out loud. And write in the chat box what just happened to your goal. The energy of it. Did it get better? Did it stay the same? Or did it get worse? There's only 3 options. It got poofed. Carol, worse. Type it in there, folks. I want to hear from you. It got poofed. It got fucked. It got worse. Not good. Powerless. You see a pattern here, folks? You think I'm making this shit up? It's total rocket science. It disappeared. Waters down your intention. 100%. 100%. One of my favorite, no, fuck it. It's my favorite quote. It's my favorite quote about soft talk. I butchered this guy's name. I can barely say it. Maimonides, whatever. He said, I prefer the fear of making the wrong decision to the terror of indecision. Raise your hand if you love prolonged bouts of indecision. No one ever says yes to that. I can't figure it out. So here's the soft talk challenge, and then Josh and I are we're gonna wrap. Oh, look at that, 11:11, right when I check the time. Wrap as in talk and converse and share. Josh and I could sit down for 8 hours and tell stories that no one would believe and not get them all. I mean that. Get a pen, get a sheet of paper. And those are the only ones, those are just the ones we remember. Get an empty or clean sheet of paper, and I want you to write down, there's only about 10 or so. These soft talk keywords that I'm about to rattle out, I want you to write them 5 times larger than you normally write, because that is going to engage your reticular. Everything starts at awareness, with awareness. That's going to engage your reticular activating system, folks. And you're going to way more quickly. So you're going to write it on a piece of paper 5 times larger than you normally write, tear it out, stick it on your bathroom mirror for 7 days. That's it. That's the soft talk challenge. We've been running it forever. People love this because it works and it's fucking simple and free. The reticular activating system is going to pay. Why am I writing these words 5 times larger than I normally? Hey, dummy, it doesn't matter. Just pay attention to them. Guess. Think. Might. Maybe. Sort of. Almost like. Kind of. Possibly. Perhaps, excuse me. Yes, perhaps. If y'all are, anyone in the UK, circle that word. Y'all use that a shitload. Hopefully, and try. And if you want to make me even happier, when you put that thing up, put the Soft Talk Challenge up, take a picture of it and tag me on Instagram. Mark England 2057. Thank you for participating, everyone. Thank you for your time and your attention. Josh, thanks for writing those things in the chat box. This concludes you could call it a lecture and this part of our workshop, everybody.
Okay, that was awesome. So I've heard you talk about this for many times actually, but I actually learned something today. You have a lot of new extra add-ons since last time. This is really awesome. I love this presentation. And I know everybody else is enjoying it too. So now it's time for questions. And if you don't have questions, me and Mark are gonna just start talking. And I warn you that that might end up really in crazy land.
Yeah, it's Josh and I mean, where do we begin, dude? Like,
well, we have a lot we could share, but you know,
thank you. You're right. Let's give it to them.
I rather want people to get as much out of this as possible. I have a question actually.
Go for it.
So let's say you become conscious of the inner narrative and maybe also of what you're talking about to others, etc. And you start modifying it. Let's say there's a part of you that don't believe in it. Like let's say you have this feeling inside, like let's say somebody feels that they are ugly and now they're changing the words into, they feel that they are beautiful or something, but they don't believe in it. How do they deal with that?
That's an excellent question, and my answer is going to take about 10 minutes.
Okay, well, go for it. And yeah. Dan, please don't prick around. You did something, and I
did.
No, Dan. I have another guy here taking care of things. So, but let me just. Yeah. Okay. Answer, please.
Okay. So our identities, everyone, the definition of identity is this is Webster's current definition of identity: the fact of being who or what a person is. Okay. That is, and I did this on stage at TED. Josh, will you go on YouTube, put my name in, and TEDx talk? We did a great TEDx talk on the power of language and identity in 2017, and put it in the chat room because I'm about to reference that.
Dan, I want to hear your answer. So Dan, can you please go on TEDx, Mark England TEDx, and find it and put it in the chat.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And so that definition, while it sounds okay at first, it's quite easy to poke a hole in. And I did this on stage in front of 1,800 people. I said, I recited the definition and then said, raise your hand if you see yourself differently in any way than when you were 5. Okay. And I got this big laugh from the crowd. Everybody can say that.
Mhm.
Okay. We see so what does that mean? That our identities are not factual, static things. And this is just the way I am, or this is just the way things are. No, they're ongoing, fluid, flexible processes. And we participate in those ongoing, fluid, flexible processes 100%, even in the worst stories that we create. And our identity, the totality of our identity, is a mixed bag. Okay. What you want to do, don't worry about fixing the whole fucking thing, folks. That'll lead you straight into overwhelm and also good luck. What you want to do is you want to expand the part of you that believes in you, that believes in your ability to get better at things, that will talk you into being more adventurous and taking a little bit of risk and having fun and seeing yourself in better and better ways, and shrink the part of you that doubts, okay, that has fear, that has the limiting mindset, that shit talks you. And if you get yourself down to somewhere, and it'll fluctuate, 80-20 is a very potent place to reside. And sometimes you're up in 95, and sometimes you go down to 70, but the majority of you is over here on team you. And then the part of you that's on team Fucksville, team loser, team not good enough, you've shrunk it down and you've got it managed. Okay. So most people, they're driving the bus and they've got a little toddler with a diaper and a pile of shit in the diaper, and it's vomiting all over the place and screaming and honking the horn and like this. No, you want to you want to take that little toddler, okay, that will throw a temper tantrum from time to time, change its diaper, put it in the back seat in the kiddie seat, and give it an Etch-a-Sketch and a little sippy cup, pat it on its head. Okay. So you're driving more of the bus. So what that just front loaded my 2 answers to your question.
Can I step in here with what you just said? Because
Sure.
I think it's important what you just said, because our minds are going to tell, let's say this woman who feels ugly, and then let's say she's moving into an 80% feeling beautiful and happy about how she looks and all that stuff. But she still have 20% that sometimes she revisit the old patterns and come and say these things. But that's not necessarily, her mind should not look at it as a defeat, that it still exists, but more like she needs to recognize the fact that, wow, it's been a while since I had thoughts like this. It's been 2 weeks. And so, I'm watching myself when I'm having my patterns coming up, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's good old Josh story. Okay. But then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. When was the last time? Oh, that was last month. Oh, and then I'm actually kind of like, pretty good, Josh, like, well done. So it's like, it's still there. It's not, gone, but it's much less frequently visiting my life and my thought patterns. And so I think that's very important, because our minds can easily even judge the fact that it visits once a month, and then forget to see the progress we are making. So I just wanted to say that.
1,000%. 1,000%. What you want to do, folks, is turn down the duration and the intensity of the shit talk. Okay. And here's 2 ways you can do that. That's exactly what Josh said. That's exactly what I was talking about with expanding the team you story and shrinking the team. Nothing ever works out for me. So we're going to talk about the cleanup, and then we're going to talk about socializing ideas, also known as supercharging affirmations. So very, very rarely do people write out, specifically title and write out their most painful stories. Most of the time, people keep those stories in their head. Okay, I'm about to give you all the the crown jewel, the centerpiece of the enlifted coaching method, which we do all the time. We're open sourced with our coaching technology. We do workshops for the general audience for free all the time, and we just teach. Okay, for a couple of reasons. One, it's got good juju, and two, we're beyond confident with this coaching system. I'll put this thing up against anything out there in its simplicity and effectiveness and ease, the ease of it, the speed that we can teach it, okay, and that people can turn around and use it. So starting from the premise that most people do not write out, negation, acknowledge the specific memories that have haunted them for God knows how long. What they do instead is they keep them inside and to themselves and deal with them to the best of their ability. A story that is kept in someone's head is tough fucking work to navigate, even with a skilled coach, compared to once a story is written down. Let me elaborate. A story kept in your head is seemingly infinite. Where does it start? Where does it stop? There's the worst part. Out, stress response. What do I do with this thing? Okay. So step one, there's 4 steps to this. And I've used this particular, this tool on everything from simple procrastination to war crimes and torture and everything in between, because it works on the mechanics of storytelling. This is about the how and not the why. The why is baked, in my opinion. It's way too open to conjecture. Title a specific memory, and you want to get, like, I mean specific. So instead of talking about all your relationship themes and problems, title the worst fight you ever had with the partner that was the most emotionally charged. Or, you know, my parents argued all the time. You want to put the gorillas on the table. The time they got a divorce, and they sat my sister and I down and told us they're getting a divorce. It was in the kitchen, and my mom was a fucking mess. My dad was stoic. And you want to title those specific memories and write them out conversationally. This is not journaling about how you feel about a thing in your looking back on it as an adult. No, you're writing it out so it can go in a book. Once a story is titled and written down, it is now finite. It has a beginning word and an end word. And I'm not getting all quantum mechanics about it and particles and all that. You've got distance between your eyeballs and the paper. So you've externalized it. You've got some distance.
But okay? Also you have frozen it. It's
correct.
Frozen.
You just trapped it. And before, it's running wild and clawing up the curtains and knocking over the china and taking shits on your shoes and tearing up the rugs. And why I say put the gorillas on the table. If you go after the 5 worst memories that you have, okay, you're going to take a significant bite out of crime. And when you do the worst ones, even though it hurts like hell, I understand the pen weighs 800 pounds and you're scared. If you do those 5, then all the other memories of maybe even similar or less charge, they're so much easier to deal with when you get to them, or they're gone because you pulled out that taproot. So there's 4 steps. Step 1, identify a specific memory, title it, write it out conversationally. That's very rarely done. Step 2, and if y'all are coaches, any of y'all are coaches, use this. Watch what happens. Use it with your clients. Step 2, read it. Step 3, read it again, but at 70% speed. We talked about this earlier. What happens when someone slows down their rate of speech? The breathing begins to descend. When the breathing begins to descend, the feels start to come up. The feels are the glue that holds the meaning in place. And then step 4 is when you take your pen and at every period you make a big, thick, fat line, and then you read the story. And then when you get to that line, big inhale, big exhale. So let's review before I give an example, and then we get on to my other answer, because I'm still on my first answer. Breath trapped in the chest, picture is in your face. Wherever you look, there it goes. You're still in the story, motherfucker. Breath trapped in your chest, it's personal, it's subjective. As the breath descends, you externalize the story, and the breath descends, the picture moves away, and you're going to change your own perspective automatically. You don't have to talk yourself into anything. It's not wishful thinking. This is the mechanics, the how of storytelling. If you address the mechanics of it, Josh, it's like somebody comes into the dojo with bad posture and footwork. Okay. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do? You're going to address the mechanics there to get them angling everything right. And so here's how step 4 would look. Let's say it's a divorce story. By the way, half of all people remember, children very, very, very frequently remember when their parents sit them down and tell them when they're getting a divorce, because their world goes from round to flat. And half the time it happens in the kitchen. That's just a coaching side. So let's say there's 2 paragraphs to the story, 4 sentences each. And this is what step 4 would look like. My parents took my little sister and I into the kitchen. My mom was crying and she was a mess. My dad was stoic and cold as usual. My dad said they're getting a divorce and that we're going to stay in the house with mom. He's getting an apartment across town. He said this was not our fault. And this is for the better. My sister was under the table crying, and I thought if I was a better son, I could have held the family together. You're externalizing the story. You're trapping it, like Josh said, with the words. You're airing it out. You're giving yourself perspective and literal breathing room. And if you go into the stories that have haunted you, and you'll know by how you feel about them. You think about that thing that happened when you were 12, and you any story that you like that, see it as what it is. It's an opportunity. Okay, it's a golden opportunity. Now there's the second part of my answer. So that tool is specifically engineered to shrink the ouch, woe was me, victim mentality stories. Okay, because if you've got a whole bunch of stories of that like that hold the negative emotional charge and those meanings, those opinions, if I was a better son, I could have somehow held the family together, and then you grow up and you take on all the responsibility because you think you have to and because that's how you're rectifying your parents. You're making up for your parents' divorce, which had everything to do with them and actually more about their childhood than their adult marriage. So history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes, folks. And we inherit more from our parents than our eye color. We inherit their stories. We also inherit their language. We inherit the language that they use to create their stories. We also inherit their breathing patterns. Think about that. If y'all have kids, y'all want to do something great for your kids, breathe well while you're around them. I don't care if they're 2 or 22. Watch what happens. And if you want to, or if you ever find yourself breathing like shit around them, watch what happens. I have a rule. I'm on a tangent. Side note. If a tool or a technique will work with my nuclear family, it'll work anywhere. And when someone brings up the thing that no one's supposed to talk about, like the aunt that shot herself in the bathroom in the house 30 years ago, whatever the secret that gets swept under the story is, when someone brings that up and everybody goes, what do? You start breathing. Do not engage with words. Engage with your breath. And the first thing that's going to happen, you're going to extract yourself from that entanglement. Okay, there's real energetic entanglement happening there. You're going to extract yourself from that, and the whole thing is going to unravel a whole lot faster if by you doing that. Okay. And so there's that tool, 4-step process for shrinking stories, airing them out, going from to oh yeah, that happened. And then there's this technique, it's called supercharging affirmations, and this is for expanding the part of you that's team you. So affirmations, very normal conversation. Here's where people they're so close, because in environments like this, most people write affirmations and most people say them. Okay, very common practice. There's one more step, and it's the most magical. It's where you breathe deep, back to breath, in and out between each statement. Mm-hmm. So if most people, so when people are using affirmations, that's usually a good indicator that part of them is in, yes, I believe this to a degree, or I want to believe more of this. It's why I'm fucking doing it. And then there's part of them that that's at odds with it. Otherwise, why would they be repping an affirmation that's already matter of fact and perfectly well socialized? Okay. No, we use affirmations when it's a mixed bag. All right. That's fine. That's where we start. And most people don't do this at all. So we're in a great group to begin with. Write them, make them simple and singular. How many times have I seen affirmations that are like basically small paragraphs with 19 things in it? Those are very hard to practice. What do you mean by practice? I mean, repeat easily. So you want to write them, you want to say them, and in between each one, breathe. Because if someone breath is trapped in the chest and they're just rattling off, take out the just, they're repeating affirmations, it's only this, it's a head job. When you stop and get the breath in between, then it brings the totality of you into the conversation, pun intended. And it's known as the same 3 different ways to describe the same thing: socializing an idea, embodying a concept, or taking it to heart. And you can do that with a list of 10 different affirmations, breathe in between each one, or you can pick the one that's most valuable to you and rep that one with breath. Mm-hmm. If you say a sentence 10 times with a big, awesome, huge inhale and exhale in between, you're going to literally supercharge the affirmation. So that's my long-winded, detailed, and hopefully consciously valuable answer to your question, Josh.
Awesome. Thank you. Epic. It leads me to another question, actually. I just got introduced to a 60 or 80-year-old practice called autogenic. Have you heard of that?
No. Tell me more.
So basically, this is somewhere in Europe, I think, some French guy or maybe some Russian, whatever, a long time ago. What they do basically, this is just the gist of it, because the reason I'm talking about is because Irina is doing it right now in Russian with a Russian woman in a big group, and she's freaking out about it because it involves doing what you're talking about, like affirmation and breath. However, it's like you're laying down as a meditation, and the beginning of there's 15 minutes each time. And the first 5-10 minutes is based upon actually bringing people into a deeper brainwave state, like a more relaxed state, and going deeply into the body and feeling the body. So it's kind of a meditation. And then only at the end, they start doing the affirmations, because they talk about that only in a certain brain state, and also when you are fully connected to your body and in parasympathetic nervous system, as you talk about, only in that state is where you can actually do the programming. And so they actually do a lot of processes to get to the state and then do the programming. And so when you are talking about repeating the affirmation and breathing and then repeating and breathing, I have a feeling people are going into a trance-like state by doing so. And in that trance-like state, they are getting more results because they are more, I mean, if we are in the problem-solving consciousness and sympathetic nervous system and totally like mental and just fully active, like very active, I think there's so much noise going on. I think less gets in. And so do you have anything to say about that? What's your thoughts on this?
You nailed a very important word, noise. Okay. When we're in a stressed state, sympathetic nervous system response state, shallow breathing, labored breathing, coastal breathing, that is a very fucking noisy place to reside.
Yeah.
All right. And it's also crowded. It's crowded, it's cramped, it's dense, your mental real estate. It's just, it's like downtown fucking Los Angeles in rush hour traffic. Okay. And, trauma is a trance state.
Yes. That was good, dude. Yeah.
Trauma is a trance state. The victim mentality is a trance state.
Yeah.
And parasympathetic nervous system response and believing in yourself, that's also it's a different trance state. Look at your imagination, everybody, like a pair of binoculars. Okay. And your language is the thing that's going like this. If something's in focus and you're hating life, then you can use your language and your breath to go like that. We got to snap ourselves out of these unconscious trans states. I mean, I'm looking for better words. You already said it.
Yeah.
We have to break these spells, folks. Nobody's coming. Nobody's coming. No one is going to do this for you. Okay. And it'll be, if you really go in there, depending on what people got, and some people have harder stories than others. Is whatever it is. I don't understand that part. Nor am I going to try. And it could be tough. It could be scary. It could be painful. Expect emotional nukes with some of this stuff. And it's nothing compared to living with this stuff for 30, 40, 50 years. Because the victim mentality, in my opinion, is the thief in the night, and it's coming for absolutely everything. It wants your time, your money, your attention, your focus, your talent. It wants your relationships. It is an endless, bottomless pit of woe and pain. And our story, our pen, this thing is truly a magical piece of technology. Technology, what?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Technical knowledge, technique. That's where the word comes from.
Mm-hmm. So on these live events, normally what we do is we do a 25-minute total silence meditation, like complete silence, just 0 point, nothing. And I don't even talk, only in just the first few minutes, I talk a little bit, and then we just sit still. And so that's the tradition I'm coming from. You know me, I'm kind of like total, just cutting out. I cut out everything and just go straight to the silence. And then we have the other side, or the other polarity, which is you write down, you talk a lot, you analyze, there's a lot of thinking, there's a lot of tools and doing and dualship in that. And what I'm kind of curious, because when I got introduced to this autogenic, I'm like, well, that sounds like a yoga nidra process, like just breathing, feeling your body. And then they have a meditation part in it. And then they do the affirmation, then they do the programming, they do these things at the end. And I'm after seeing Irina, because she's shining with energy. She's getting so much energy out of this. It's 5 times a day, 15 minutes. And I'm just watching her transforming right now. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is there's something here. And I feel there's something here in regards to merging these two worlds and approaches, in the sense of first do the meditation, the silence, dive in deep and just become nobody and nothing and 0 point, all that stuff. And when you come to the end of the meditation, then maybe soft language, but it would be a good idea to go in and do the affirmations at the end, whatever you want to program your subconscious with, because I think in that state you have so much more access than at any other moment in time.
They complement each other.
They complement each other.
Yeah. So a story that is more empowering and fun and free is going to expand the breathing, which is going to increase the depth and breadth of the silence.
Yeah, that I actually have an idea right now, because normally what we do is we do a 15-20 minute break, and then we meet again here, and then we do a 25-minute meditation. And I just have an idea. You can just say if you're up for it or not. What about in this meditation? I started, we do a split screen like now. I start the meditation and the group meditate together, and it will go into the silence. And then I'm going to set the meditation timer to 20 minutes, because when you hear the gong, bing, then I would like you to spend 5 minutes with some positive affirmations. Just slowly.
Sign me up.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because people are going to be super receptive in that moment. So we're gonna do. Okay, cool. We're gonna do this. This is gonna be awesome. So before we go and have this break, what is your name, your whole name and your website?
Mark Christopher England.
England as the country.
England as the country. And we have this website, www.enlifted.me, is about our certification program.
Okay.
We certify coaches. We level one.
.me.
Correct.
Okay.
We certify coaches. I'm the head coach. I deliver all the trainings. They're fun. And then on Instagram is where I post about word magic and shit posts.
So the redneck is coming out on.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the filter was never on anyway.
No.
Mark England 2057.
Mark England 2057.
Yeah. And I'm just warning y'all, I am not at all a fan of the vaccine mandates and all this bullshit going on, and I'm extremely vocal about it.
Yeah.
As in, like I talk a lot of shit on my Instagram.
By the way, first of all, most of 20, yeah. So 2057.
2057, yeah. 2057.
So, but anyway, first of all, I don't think there's any listeners here who are happy about the vaccines. I doubt it. That they wouldn't be surviving my live events.
I would be surprised.
So that's one thing. But the other thing, I actually, because I'm visiting, I have some academic British friends who are very sensitive to when people say fuck and shit and crap and pussy and all these things. And so you're the word guy, and so my question to you is, because every word has a vibration frequency.
Yeah.
And what's your thoughts on swearing and cursing? It's called cursing or what?
It's called cursing. Yep. It's a personal choice. And it is absolutely part of my transparent, authentic storytelling. I talk like this. What you see on screen is what you get off screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can testify to that.
Yeah. And there also have been some studies, folks. The people that cuss are they're more trustworthy. Or excuse me, people that cuss are easier to trust.
Are you serious?
I'm dead fucking serious. No pun intended. And I have found that in my life as well. Somebody drops a couple of F-bombs. I'm like, all right, okay. This is just this, and this, take that last part out about the study. This is me. Take it or leave it.
And what about, have you in your work offended people with your language?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
What are you just kind of like, you don't care and just let them, you know?
Well, I'm saving their time, you know, because they can go get, well, good luck getting better information about language and magic than us. We're the best. And if they need to go somewhere else. Okay. If I'm turning the volume down on my personality, to try to be more likable or more, agreeable with, then I see it as such. I'm wasting people's time.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's me. Here's what it is. Here it is. And you'll take the pulse in under 5 minutes. If you want to stick around, great. If you want to go somewhere else, that's fine.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I'm asking because I've been in deep process with this myself, because I say fuck and shit and all this stuff when I'm in private. But I don't do it in live events, or at least very rarely if I ever do. It's a mistake when I do it. Like, I try to consciously avoid it.
Yeah.
I've done this kind of work now for years, and I had emails from people writing in and complaining and all this stuff, and I've been told in so many ways why I would reach more people if I just learned to speak in a less offensive manner. And I want to reach more people, not just because of business and all that stuff, but because I want to help people. And I think it's a shame that some people will miss out on this just because I don't know how to not say fuck and shit, etc. So I was kind of like, okay, I guess I just need to grow up and stop talking like this. So I went to great lengths to kind of reprogram myself to stop doing that. But let me put it this way: when I talk to someone and I want to make it clear that this whatever thing I'm talking about is fucked, then it's very difficult for me to say that without saying the word fucked. You know, it's just like, for example, you want to talk about the vaccines and what's going on in the world. It's difficult if you're very passionate about it. I think naturally, instinctually, easily, I start swearing when I talk about it. And I do this in private, but I usually don't do it in live events. And it's because there were so many people reacting to it. And I was just thinking, okay, I guess what does it take of me to change that, just to step out of that, like drop that and talk without this swearing?
Here's my answer to that. How do they know? How do they know that you would reach more people if you didn't? Tell that to Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
That guy, you have to sign a release. I've been to one of his events, and that dude, he makes me look like a nun with what I'm saying. And he's got 4, 5, 10,000 like up and going absolutely mental. I don't believe them. If someone said that to me, I'd go, I don't believe you. And that would be the end of the conversation, because I don't believe them.
So Tony Robbins is swearing like crazy.
Oh my Lord, dude. That dude's his mouth, he's got gutter mouth, dude.
Okay.
And he loves it. And people are laughing and they're relaxing. the curse words, they activate a part of the brain that it gets into an emotional. See, I don't understand the neuroscience, so I don't go in there. I stay out of that conversation. I'm serious. It goes right over my head. And I remember the gist of the studies. People, and I burp too, people are quicker to trust people that cuss, and curse words activate it. Curse words wake people up. Curse words wake people up. And guess what? If I turn people off, I mean, listen, I'm going to offend somebody just by blinking.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of my opinions are offending people as well. So, and I would say, if I was to look at it from outside, some of my opinions are way more radical than any curse words spoken. So I guess you just let out the beast again. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm gonna start swearing again. I'm sorry.
F-bombs all over the place on my I just dressed up as I bought a. Did you ever get into Dave Chappelle?
No.
So he did a skit on Rick James, and I was okay. Never mind. It takes too much. It takes too much explaining. I cuss a lot on my Instagram and whatever. Just be prepared, everybody.
Yeah.
I'm in, dude. Let meditate. Drop some affirmations at the end, dude. Happily.
Okay. Happily. Let's do that. So let's take a 15-minute break, and then we are back. So what you do, Mark, is you keep your Zoom running, and then I'm gonna pause the picture and all that stuff. You can pause your microphone and video, and then I will turn on in 15 minutes, make some noise, and you will hear it in the speakers, and you just drop in, and then we do the meditation. Okay, so I see you in 15 minutes for a different kind of meditation. Ciao. Okay, we are back. 15-minute break. And I hope Mark is coming back as well. Mark, are you there?
Yo, buddy.
Oh, he's there. Good. Okay.
So I'm tinkering with the affirmations.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna turn on an online timer. It's more for me than for anybody else. It's just so, because I get spaced out and lose track of time when I do this. Okay, so spine straight. And for those of you who have the eye cover, put it on. Sit in a comfortable position. Don't get distracted by your computer. And let's begin the meditation. And just breathe deep into your belly, down below the belly button. And check in on your body. If there's any muscles that are tense. Especially neck and shoulders, the face. Just relax the face. And remember, this is not really you meditating. This is just sitting. Sitting is happening. Sitting just is. No one doing it. And bring your focus down to the chest area. Step out of that mind. And just watch that mind. You have a mind. You are not your mind. And then expand your consciousness like spherical expansion from the chest as the center. Fill up the room, house, apartment. And just become bigger and bigger. The body is inside you. This city is inside you. nation, planet. Keep on expanding. Solar system, galaxy, you are just empty space. Hollow and empty. Sense the silence between every single atom. Timeless, before this universe was born, after this universe is gone. This is the silence all things come from. Non-local.
All right, everybody. Repeat each affirmation after me. We'll do it nice and slow. There's 36 of them. And take a nice big breath in and a nice full exhale out in between each one. All you got to do is follow me. We're going to do all 36, and I'm going to leave. And I'll be seeing y'all again. Promise, promise. Here we go. I'm strong. I'm healthy. I show up. I'm consistent. I'm supported. I'm happy. I'm grateful. I'm expressive. I'm getting better. I am better. I got better. I'm healing. I'm healed. I can let go. I let go. Let go. I'm done. I'm here. I'm present. I'm focused. I flow. I'm safe. I'm okay. It's okay. Shit happens. I'm better. I'm a lot better. Say this in matter of fact. I got better. I listened. I learned. It happened. I'm ready. I got this. I'm home. Abracadabra, folks. Have a magical day. See you next time.
That was Mark England. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for your affirmations, Tanya. I read them. Good. I'm happy you guys enjoyed. I did. I got this. Yes. See you next Sunday. And I have a feeling Mark will be back. Maybe not on Sunday, but at least another time. Abracadabra. Bye.